We did just hear a few moments ago from the former President Trump, calling on those Republican holdouts to vote for Kevin McCarthy and close the deal. He's warning them to avoid an embarrassing defeat, he says. Joining us now to talk about this is the Florida Republican Congressman Brian Mast, who voted in support of Kevin McCarthy yesterday, we should note. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
How are you doing?
Is that statement from Trump enough to get those 20 Republicans who voted against Kevin McCarthy over the line?
I don't think that that's the end-all be-all in it. In your opening, you talked about it being a power struggle. And I don't think the power struggle is exactly what everybody thinks it is. The power struggle is about decentralizing the Speaker's office. And that's something that the Republican Party is working very seriously on. This happened under both parties, right? Under Republican in the majority, under Democrats in the majority, rank and file members like myself or Matt Gaetz or others. We got to be a part of the process procedurally, but did we really get to affect change in the way we wanted to with open floor debate and things like that? And Speaker Pelosi, that's how she had control. That's how she kept Republicans out of the process, by having this iron grip on the Speaker's office and all power coming out of that. That's what the Republican Party is getting rid of. That's the real power struggle.
So you're saying regardless of who ultimately becomes House Speaker, it is going to be a weakened position?
100%. No matter who's the House Speaker, it will be Kevin McCarthy. But when that takes place, it will be a position, you can't say it's weakened, it's an empowering position for the members of the conference. That makes it difficult for Republicans to correct course in the way we want to, because that also empowers the Democrat members in a way that Republicans, when we were in the minority, we were not empowered. That door goes both ways. But it's going to make it a messy 2 years, but that's the real power struggle going on.
You still think Kevin McCarthy gets there?
I think Kevin McCarthy gets there. I know he gets there.
How?
How is by speaking behind closed doors with individuals about what has to take place in this struggle to make sure that members feel empowered enough to know that if we're dealing with border issues, they can get their voice not just heard where people are barely on the floor listening to them, but heard in a way that their amendments get to move forward, be a part of the underlying bill text, and actually affect change in America or on energy policy or on whatever. That's the assurances that people are looking for, that they're not going to be blocked by a centralized power in the Speaker's office when they're duly elected like everybody else.
But part of that would be getting the Republicans who did not vote for you to vote for you. And I just talked to Byron Donalds, who switched his vote yesterday. He says he hasn't heard from McCarthy.
Well, there might be some, maybe some other people that he's speaking to right now. I couldn't say where all of that relationship is. I think if I'm putting this in a matter-of-fact way, understanding how these things go behind closed doors, when people are whipping, hey, are you going to be with me on this vote? Will you vote for me for Speaker, this and that? Understanding that these can go to multiple ballots. A lot of times the whip count will be, will you be with me on the first ballot? How about the second ballot? After that, will you still be with me? And people say, well, listen, you got me for 2 ballots, but on the 3rd ballot, I'm going to have to do something else. I don't know that that's what happened with Byron, but I would suspect it was something like that.
You're still committed to voting for Kevin McCarthy?
I'm committed to voting for Kevin McCarthy. He has done the work in helping Republicans get elected, in laying out a path forward for Republicans to go forward and correct these paralyzing issues for the United States of America. He's the right leader for us.
Does he have a strategy here, though?
In dealing with becoming Speaker of the House?
Yes.
The strategy is to continue the dialogue, continue the debate with this, not to overly use this terminology, but as you said, the power struggle, but it's, like I said, the power struggle of decentralizing power out of the Speaker's office.
If they're continuing, excuse me for interrupting,
No.
If they're continuing, was it smart to adjourn yesterday? Because I had heard that Kevin McCarthy initially did not want them to adjourn. He wanted them to keep voting. Should they have adjourned, or was that a mistake?
I think the adjournment actually fell under something that happens more often than not in Washington, D.C., and it goes to what happened right at Christmas time. Timing and people wanting to be somewhere else in many cases is unfortunately what affects policy in many places. There's a $1.7 trillion spending package that went through, that McConnell and others pushed through in the Senate. I was absolutely pissed off about that, especially with Republicans moving into the majority. And why did they do it? Because they wanted to be home for Christmas. As much as I wanted to be with my family yesterday and those that came in town for this special occasion of swearing in, there was work to be done, and I think we should have continued doing that work. But ultimately, I think that's why there was an adjournment, so everybody could go be with their family members and their guests that are in town.
Basically, they got tired of being in there in the room. Kevin McCarthy and Republicans had this closed-door meeting yesterday morning where he had this very aggressive tone, saying basically that he deserved the speakership, that he had worked for it. There were some criticisms of that it was too aggressive and that it kind of hardened those who were against him. Do you think he took the right tone yesterday?
I think he took the exact right tone. It was a tone where, you know, sometimes when you're debating with people, it is confrontational, right? We're still part of the same family. We sit down together at Thanksgiving and we don't get along with everybody that are our own flesh and blood. Sometimes it gets heated in that way. Don't think that it was just one-sided. But in the end, we're still a team. We're going to work through this and we'll get the job done for America in the way that we promised.
What does what we saw yesterday say about what happens when Republicans are in charge?
I think it shows that we're reflective. Truthfully, this is going to be an incredibly messy 2 years. And a messy 2 years because we're allowing the process in Washington, in the Capitol, to play out the way the founders designed it, in a messy way where everybody on both sides of the aisle gets to be a part of it. That's going to make it actually more difficult for us to get the things done that we want to get done. But we're reflective enough to say that's the way things are supposed to work here, not the way that Speaker Pelosi had them work.
So what you're saying is what happened yesterday is what we're going to see more of on repeat.
Yes, you're going to see a messy 2 years in Washington because everybody's going to get a say-so in a way that they haven't.
Okay, Brian Mast, thank you for joining us. We'll wait to see if you actually do vote today when you convene back at noon. You say you're still voting for Kevin McCarthy. Thank you very much.